joining me is Catboy. So as it's the two number nerds, I'm sure you've guessed by now. This is going to be quite a number-heavy podcast. We're going to discuss who we're going to have as our Wales 15 for the game against South Africa, and potentially moving on to onto the summer tour. And we're going to use stats as our main basis for this. So a couple of things we just want to highlight. Huw, do you want to just go through some of the criteria that we're making these selections?
Yeah, so we're using a bunch of different stats inputs for this. This is purely statistical. Now, we'll talk about, as we're going along, some of the pitfalls of going purely off stats in rugby. So people who don't know, I run a stats Twitter account. It's great, but there's some issues with just picking rugby teams in this way, and we'll talk about those as we go on. Two main inputs. We've got a spreadsheet of stats from the URC, and we've also going to use the analyst.com, which is Opta's free website, where it's got very in-depth player stats on there as well. This is only taking into account URC stats. This doesn't take into account anything to do with the Six Nations or anything to do with European campaigns, which I think is pretty fair, because someone like Cardiff had to play in Champions Cup against the likes of Toulouse, whereas the other regions were only playing Challenge Cup. So I think it's fair to exclude those. It's not very many games anyway. So it's the 17 rounds as of recording today, the stats that tell us what team should be being picked. And for each position, we've got different stats. And we have determined between us what stats we think are relevant for each position. If you, dear listener, dear viewer, have a different view, feel free to tell us in the comments, in the reviews and everything below. Tweet us at Rab on Twitter and let us know what you think. So we'll go through it. We're going to start off with... but first, I should say that what made me and Harley want to do this is that during the Six Nations, Wales had one massive fundamental issue, and it was gain line success. We had the worst gain line and the worst carrying of any team in the Six Nations. So we got thinking, what team should Wales pick, should Warren Gatland be picking to solve these gain line issues? So that's what we're going through today. Should say as well, because it's URC only, it means that any player playing in England or any player playing in France is not considered in these stats. We will probably make the team based on Welsh-based regional players, and then ask the question at the end, what non-Wales-based players should we chuck in there at the end? And have a bit of a debate about that. I warn people now, I've done the prelim checks on this. The team that we get is going to be weird. Okay? It's going to be a weird team. So strap in. This is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, just a couple of other things. So we're not including any players who will be ineligible for Wales for the summer tour. So the likes of Rhys Carey will be in. Any players who we think are going to be injured for that South Africa game. So, obviously, Rhys Davies had a very good first half of the season. He's unlikely to be fit. Teddy Williams is out, so these players won't be thing. We're also putting a limit on the number of minutes, because when you've only played a few minutes, that can skew your stats quite heavily.
So someone like Jack Morgan is probably not going to come up in this, because Jack Morgan has played hardly any minutes for the Ospreys this season in the URC, and so he'll be a notable exception. So we'll talk about that when we get to flankers.
Yeah, so as so our cut-off is 500 minutes, which is about...
I did 400 in the end. I lied to you, I went with 400.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I feel like, actually, to be honest, because we'd really struggle. For example, Sam Costello and Josh Adams have only played about 400 minutes each.
Yeah.
Along those, I can't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but yes, we'll get into that more as we go on. So yeah, so they're the sort of cut-offs, and as I said, we're mainly looking at things when we go through the positions, we'll go through what stats we thought was most important with gain line success and being extra carrying, more of an option, whereas obviously some things with like props. Ability in the scrum and set piece does also come into it, but we're also focusing more on a hard carrying team.
Yeah, but we're also assuming that this is a Warren Gatland team as well, so it's not going to be a Jouet team, guys. It's not going to be a running rugby Welsh way team. It's going to be Bish. It's going to be a bashing team. That's what we're going for. So, okay, but we'll talk about the different strengths that different players have. So I'm going to share the screen then, mate. Let me know when you can see. And we're going to start off at the beginning with props. So it wants me to do this. This might need to be an early edit. Okay, can you see the Excel sheet, mate?
Yep, all good.
Okay, so I can't see you anymore, so I have to believe that you're here.
Yeah, I'm still here, mate. That's fine.
Okay, so start with props. So I'll filter on prop over here. So the initial stat, like I said, that I've got going on here. So have you got the doc open, the Google Doc with the criteria?
Yeah. So we've gone. So we're looking at. So
if you look at the ones in italics underneath is the final decision.
Yeah. So we're going for gain line, contact meters. Then we're looking at penalties conceded. Assuming scrum penalties, we can filter that out in the discipline for these sheets. Then we're looking at the number of tackles, and then ruck arrival. So we're looking. So towards the end, then we're starting to look at work rate as well.
Yeah. So in terms of who makes the cut for minutes, I've started on loose heads, and we've got Corey Domachowski, Kelmsley Matthias, Nicky Smith, Rodri Jones, and Wyn Jones. They're the only Welsh qualified loosehead props who have played more than 400 minutes for the regions this season. So, gain line success. You've already taken Rhys Carey out of this, I'm guessing, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've assumed Rhys Carey's not available. His carrying stats are generally very, very good. But like we said, he's moving abroad, and Gatland just hates his face. So he's not being considered, which means that Corey Domachowski is the best for gain line success. He gets 2.8, that looks like. 2.75 gain line successes per 80 in the URC, which is the most of any loose head. Second is Kelmsley Matthias, and then is a big drop off to Wyn Jones and Nicky Smith. If I then go, instead of gain line success, to contact meters, which is here somewhere, here it is. Domachowski actually drops down to second, and Kelmsley Matthias goes up to 6 contact meters, 5.9 contact meters per 80. Wyn Jones is in third, and then back down to Nicky Smith and Rodri Jones. So Rodri Jones is bottom of both of those stats so far, so I think it's fair to say we'll count him out.
Yeah, I think so as well. He's also not been showing himself in the reckoning. I mean, 1+ for him. I know we haven't gone on to the sort of scrum side of things. He has been, whenever the Dragon scrum has worked, it has worked very well with Rodri Jones. But yeah, so I think the ones we're looking at are no surprise that 2 of them are in the Wales squad. Were in the last couple of Wales squads, and then Wyn Jones a bit of a stalwart.
Yeah. So this kind of is a bit of an insight, isn't it, into why already Nicky Smith is clearly behind both Domachowski and Matthias in terms of his carrying ability. So in a way, it kind of gives an insight into what maybe Gatland's thinking. And Gatland has said that he wants his pack to be mobile. But on the other hand, it's also a bit worrying that these are the 2 props that we've been picking, and we've still been having the gain line issues. So it doesn't seem like there's much that we can change in terms of loose heads.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, we've discussed about this off air plenty of times, and I've mentioned it on podcasts. I do think Gatland uses props similar to how he's always used them, as the main ruck clear out people.
Yeah,
and so you don't necessarily. I think you brought up the stats that Kieran Alzarati went from one of the top carrying tight heads to the worst in the Six Nations.
Mm.
But that the only way that could be is that should be a game plan. Really,
yeah.
Wouldn't expect that much of a drop off otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I go now to penalties conceded, so this is all penalties. Unfortunately, the data that we have doesn't allow us to go into specifically scrum penalties, but you would assume that a loosehead prop gives away most of their penalties at the scrum. But either way, you don't want a penalty machine in your team anyway. So this is where Matthias comes a bit unstuck. He gives away the most penalties per 80. Over 2.5 penalties per 80 for Matthias. Not great. Wyn Jones is actually second to him, although he has played a lot of time on the tight head side of the scrum this season. So perhaps playing into a bit of stereotypes here, Scarlet scrum, not great.
Yeah, absolutely. And unsurprisingly, the best scrummage in loosehead is the best scrummage in loosehead, with Nicky Smith conceding the fewest penalties. And I'd say a few of them are probably from that Dragons game.
Yeah.
where the
So-
referee didn't like the way he was scrummaging at all.
Yeah. So if we go to start narrowing it down to 2, mate, have we covered all the stats that we said that we'd have for Loosehead there, apart from the ones that
Only
we'll go
ones
to
are
later?
Tackles and rucks.
Okay, so I can't do rucks here, but I can do tackles. So, you know me, I'm not one who places much stock in tackle success because you can miss a tackle and still have a positive defensive contribution. But if you look at tackle volume, it can give you an indication into the work rate of a player and how busy a player is. And again, Corey Domachowski comes out, if not top, then very close to top. So Roger Jones is actually top of this one with 12.76. John Domachowski with 12.46. And you have to remember that this is per 80. So these are pretty strong stats. Wyn Jones with 12.01. So it's looking like Domachowski is the clear leading contender based on stats.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair enough based on all that. And I said, yes, he does give away a few more penalties, but actually a lot of his penalties are, unfortunately with the specific sheet you aren't using, there are sheets with others, but that's so much data to load even for us.
Exactly.
But actually a lot of his penalties are actually defensive ones, so it's more breakdown things, because as is quite typical for the Cardiff side, it's every player goes for pretty much every ruck. So
well, I'll tell you what then, I can
actually
bring turnovers 1 in here. We weren't going to look at it, but turnovers 1. Domachowski's not very up there, I'm afraid, mate. Wyn Jones is averaging 1 turnover 1 per game.
Yeah, that's
so
excellent. I never said he was successful at it. I said he gives away penalties doing
yeah,
it.
he gives away.
In my defence, it's too. I said one is part of the defence system, can't have slow and ruck ball down. It's not necessarily generating the turnover itself. But
yeah,
I mean, and surprisingly, Nicky Smith, who's when he first started, wasn't actually that strong a scrummager, but was an excellent prop over the ball.
So
for me, I'd say.
Sorry, go on, mate.
So I was going to say, going on for like my top 2. I'd say if we're going with what we said first of all, which is purely our carrying game, it's Domachowski and Matthias. I think if you do want to make sure that you've got one good set piece prop as well, then I'd say Nicky Smith, although his carrying isn't as good as the other two, it's still, I'd be tempted to say, it's good enough to get through.
Yeah, if I just put game line success back in there just to refresh our mind. I mean, he's a clear step behind those two, but he is much of a muchness with all the rest. It's not like he's way down the bottom. So, do you want to go Domachowski and Smith then for our 2 nominations for Loosehead?
Yeah, so we'll go Domachowski and Smith.
Okay. That's Loosehead. Then let's go to tight head now. Oh, I need to clear some filters. Okay, so there's a lot more tight heads have played the number of minutes. Right, this is one that I looked at earlier, mate. So this is, you have to keep a straight face here. Okay, so the nominations are, and there's a lot more of them, Chris Coleman, Harry O'Connor, Kieran Azarati, Lloyd Fairbrother, Rhys Henry, Rhys Litterick, Sam Wainwright, Tom Botha. Okay, I'm going to just jump right in and spoil it, mate. I had a play with this earlier. I cannot find a statistic that Rhys Henry is not the best tight head prop in Wales.
I think we do also have to caveat that with as well. He's played an awful lot of Loosehead this season.
He has, but I checked. I checked. He has played more games at tight head than Loosehead.
Right, cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. I think Rhys Henry's great. I am very much part of the.
He's top for game line success. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I don't know if there's anything in the fact that he's usually coming off the bench. He doesn't start many games.
I think there's probably an element of that. Yep.
But also, I mean, it's far and it almost looks like there's an error in it, because like when you look at like the relative contact meters between Rhys Henry and like the next couple of props, it's just completely different.
Yep. Yeah. So if I bring multiple of these in, so if I bring contact meters, where's game line success gone? There we go. Bring that in. You can see the 2 bars here. He's top of both. What else do we want to bring in?
So I said with tight heads again, it's got to be penalties conceded again. Probably more from from the scrum side. I mean, they obviously they do get penalties for other things.
Yeah, so Rhys Henry is third, at least on that. Kieran Azarati is actually second bottom. Tom Botha is the least. So Tom Botha is normally
surprising.
Tom Botha is normally the one when people say if you're picking a tight head prop to scrummage first, Tom Botha is who we should pick. So Rhys Henry doesn't give very many away. Kieran Azarati, very close to Tom Botha. You got Chris Coleman is a bit of a penalty machine. Lloyd Fairbrother also, Jim Dragons props, not surprising. Harry O'Connor then as well. Scarlett's prop. Sam Wainwright, actually better than a lot of people think he is.
Yeah, I said that surprised me given my reputation for him, and particularly last season. So I'm not so. I mean, I suppose this season, maybe he's settled down because I think there was some back issues last season, but which could cause problems. Yeah, I think looking at our other ones, I think you've got to put Rhys Henry in.
Yep.
He's there or thereabouts in our set. And then I think with the other ones, tackles, again, he's, Rhys Litterick's making a late charge now when you start looking at the tackles. So defensively, which Southern Cardiff had to do a lot this season, he's done fairly well. And Azarati's not. I mean, other than Tom Botha, who we all joke about, he scrummages and stands next to a ruck. It's a bit of a joke, Actually, the tight props, a bit less than the loose head, but all still fairly high.
Yep. So it's a clear second contender isn't really emerging that obviously. So if I try and
stick a few on together, and we'll see if sort of
okay. So gain line success. Actually, no, I'll go contact meters. There we are. And then if I go, what was the other one we were looking at? Tackles.
The tackles and pens conceded, and obviously for the pens conceded, we're looking for we're looking for high on two of them and a smaller one for others.
Yeah. So there we go. So we've got Rhys Henry already. So again, like you say, Rhys Litterick does actually start looking quite good.
When you start looking at more the defensive side of things, he does look a bit better. His carrying is a bit better than others, and he doesn't give away many penalties. He doesn't give away the fewest, but he does. It's still. And again, it's that I feel like we do want to strike that balance. So I'd say we're probably looking at Litterick and Henry here based on these stats which we've said.
Yeah. Well, no, we've got to go with it. I said we'd pick a surprising team. So there you go. Yeah. There's the props. We'll whittle those down to one of each later when we look at some more stats. So next, we're looking at hooker. So again, we're going to start with gain line and contact meters.
A lot of hookers used this season. We've played many minutes, which is
yeah. Hang on, I need to put the filter on.
If we get back to okay. So.
Okay, so we've got Bradley Roberts, Dewey Lake, James Benjamin from the Dragons, Liam Belcher, who's played a lot of minutes for Cardiff, Ryan Elias, Sam Parry, and Sean Evans. So Sean Evans has also played a lot of minutes for the Scarlets this season. So Dewey Lake, from a carrying point of view, is nailed on for me. I think we can write his name down straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think carry. Bradley Roberts as well, very good character. And actually, if you look at like the gain line success, and maybe isn't much higher than some of the other hooker contenders. But when he does make it, he makes a lot of meters. Yeah.
If I throw tackles in as well, see who makes the most tackles. So Liam Belcher makes a lot of tackles, not surprising. Ryan Elias is a tackle machine. I can say that from looking at Scarlet stats every week. He's always right up there.
Yeah, Lake sort of drops down a bit on this one, but again,
more contact meters than tackles.
Yeah, is this an argument that is this more of an issue with the fact that Ospreys are very much an on-ball team, so they don't need to win, whereas teams like the Scarlets and Dragons and Cardiff, for all their woes, have had to tackle a lot more. So and then the other one, I can't remember if we've got this one on here, but for lineouts.
We do. I can do that. Give me a second. So I'll take these out. And then I can do
the
do
breaking
throws
back of the hooker
1.
is-
Yeah.
the throws 1 stat is quite hilarious because it also includes whenever whenever you have scrum halves or fullbacks taking quick throws.
Yeah. Okay, so what we've got here then, so this shows the blue line is throws 1 and the orange line is throws lost. So Sean Evans loses the most throws. He's a converted back rower. You might expect that. Ryan Elias loses, on average, 1.98 throws a game. Bradley Roberts, 2 throws a game. And in terms of who's the best, Dewey Lake actually loses the fewest. So he's looking very strong contender at the moment. And then you got Sam Parry and James Benjamin is the second fewest, actually.
Yeah, I mean, obviously James Benjamin also has thrown fewer, so as well that skews the percentage a little bit. I think again I think it nails. I mean, I know we were talking about picking 2 and then using Opta and Alice to pick our first choice, our starter, but I think pretty much nailed on for Dewey Lake for this one. I think he carries really well, and despite what other people have said about him, his darts are very good.
Yeah, I've just chucked in turnovers 1 as well. And James Benjamin is actually by far the top of this, 1.2 turnovers 1 per game. No one else is above 0.7. So a decent margin ahead.
Again, not surprising because of the injury woes at Dragons. He's played a lot at 7 as well, as hooker. And he is a converted 7. So, actually, to be honest, it's quite surprising how many hookers playing in Wales are converted back rowers.
I will say, Dragons' line-out has been very, very good this season. They get 100% line-out success a lot in games.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wanting to throw James Benjamin in as the second nominee.
I mean, I think from the defensive point of view, he's definitely up there with tackles and turnovers and having that extra jackal threat in your pack where teams don't necessarily are looking for it from the hooker. I mean, a lot more teams do have a hooker who is a turnout for the threat, admittedly. But yeah, I think James Benjamin might be worth a second shot.
Okay. See, it's gone weird already. Okay, so we're on to locks now. So locks, again, is another area that I've looked at already, and you'll be surprised. Now, lock is a little bit complicated because there are players who have played lock and flanker together this season.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring those both in. Again, I'll start with gain line success per 80. James Ratty is straight away the top nomination here. Like I said, he's played a lot of games at 6 as well for the Ospreys, so that probably helps him in some of these stats. Second, Morgan Jones.
I mean, to be fair, watching Scarlets, that's not too surprising. He does seem to be quite a good go forward. He tends to be that first option, and allows likes of Tame Plumtree and Dan Davis to go a bit wider.
Yeah, so if I go to contact meters, Ratty again top and Morgan Jones again second. So it's looking good for those
two. If you break the game line more, you make more meters. That makes sense.
If I now, what other stats have we got for locks there, mate? Number of tackles?
For locks, so we want line-out takes and tackles made.
Okay, I can do line-out steals
like line-outs
and throws 1.
Steals is a good one.
Okay, so I'll swap those over. So the blue line is line-out takes. So quite similar for a lot of players here. You can Adam Beard is there. Adam Beard is injured, so he's not going to be available. Ben Carter looks like he's top there. Seb Davis of Cardiff is there as well. I suspect if we were allowed to choose Timani, he would probably be quite high up on this, as would Verfafita.
I'm not so sure about Timani. He was very rarely used as a line-out option. He was usually used more as a midfield carrier, and the few games he has played this season has mostly been from 8. I think if Teddy Williams wasn't injured, that might have helped as well.
So from a line-out point of view, from takes and steals, Ben Carter looks like he's got the best stats there, which is interesting. Yep. And I have seen his name thrown around on Twitter a bit as someone that people would like to see come in. If I go now to tackles made, this is all per 80, by the way. Jack Price comes into it. Seb Davis comes into it. But again, Ben Carter comes out very well.
Yeah. I'd say I'd say it's probably much for muchness, and obviously we do have two spots. So I don't know if we want to look at 4 locks here. So currently looking at Ben Carter, Seb. I think even if he's not doing right at steals, going to do it quite well. As is Morgan Jones and James Ratty. I'd say probably the best. Obviously, no Rhys Davis because he's been injured, which is a shame. Because I think
that's one from each region as well, so that's nice. So we'll whistle those down a bit later. So, on to flankers then. So I need to keep lock flanker in there. So who are some of the players? This is probably one of the areas that we're missing. So flankers get injured a lot. So like the highest attrition rate in Wales at the moment is open side. That's the team the position that most teams get injuries in. So a lot of nominations here have played the requisite amount of minutes. So Ben Donnell comes out well, which I'm surprised at. I didn't think Ben Donnell had played that much.
I think it's one of those because he was even though he's a mid-season signing, he sort of filled in quite handily because we've Josh Turnbull sort of retiring, not being promoted, and then we had injury to Teddy Williams and with Tamani out as well. So I think he's added a lot of abrasion to that Cardiff pack.
Yep.
So I'm not surprised he comes up quite well.
Yeah. So statistically wise, I should say it's quite difficult to we're not going to try and discern between 6s and 7s. We're going to apply mostly the same stats to them. We know that they are different, but we're kind of treating them the same from a stats point of view. We can chat about it, but obviously the big one that's missing here as well, big 2 are Jack Morgan and Tommy Reffell for different reasons. So, this list is obviously missing significant names, and we'll talk about that at the end. So, gain line success, Harry Keddy comes out very well, and I feel like regional rugby fans see Harry Keddy as a pretty undervalued player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's been an absolute stalwart for Dragons for many seasons. Probably never fulfilled the potential he was needed. I've been a big fan of him. I think I've always thought he'd be worth get a call up during one of those lines tour when a lot of the big players have been rested or for that game. Those out of window tests when we needed an extra flanker. I said one of the names there on top for contact meters and everything. Thomas Young obviously injured. Again, not really being fancied by Gatland.
Oh, is he?
Probably a bit too old now as well. Yeah, so Thomas Young will be back in the.
Yeah, turnovers 1, he is by far the top. He averages 2 turnovers per game. No one else is. The next highest is Justin Tipperick, who again is retired from international rugby at 1.1. The highest eligible player is Tane Plumtree with 0.79. And Teddy Leatherbarrow, actually, funnily enough.
So there you go. Scarlett's 6'7" back row there.
Yeah. So
Alex
what we
still
thinking?
quite high up there for an out-and-out 6 as well, because obviously there are some out-and-out 6s here, and turnovers aren't necessarily their thing.
Penalties conceded, I'm just going to drop in here as well.
Yeah,
Tame Basham always shoots up in this one. Leatherbarrow, Thomas Young actually shoot up as well, as does Alex Mann.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of youthful exuberance with Alex Mann. A lot of his penalties are usually for offside and going a little bit too early. Thomas Young again, his penalties tend to be for basically hands on the floor, going for jackals when they're not necessarily on.
So if I just go back to gain line, then go back to the sort of thing that I think is the key one for our team that we're picking here. Harry Keddy. James Ratty again because he can play that. Tane Basham is up there as well. Thomas Young.
Obviously, Young we have to discount because he's not there. I'm going to discount Ratty
because we've already got him in the locks.
Because we've got him as one of our lock things. If we decide he doesn't make it in the lock, or we think he's a better option at 6 than anything we've got there. So I think Keddy's looking up there. Basham, unsurprisingly, is a very good ball carrier. I think a lot of his other aspects of his game are a bit need work. But Harry Deeves as well was a very good shout. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he actually comes off quite well here. So I think again, if we know, why don't we do that? What we did for the locks is we've got 2 flankers as well, so we'll nominate 1 from each region. So we'll go. Who do you want to go? We'll go Keddy from Dragons.
Yeah.
Keddy or Basham?
I think overall Keddy is probably the. Although Basham's maybe the one with the higher, more international ceiling, I'd say Keddy, based on the stats.
What I can
Slightly better
do,
carrier.
what I'll just do as well, because I'm interested, I'll throw in line-out takes as well.
Yeah, so this is an important. Yeah, this is actually something that's quite increasingly important with us, with the way
Tips is top of that one.
They do, and that's unsurprising. He's been a main ball winner for ages. Yeah, Shane Lewis-Hughes comes in there. Unsurprisingly, he's played a lot of lock.
Yeah, Tame Plumtree comes in there as well. He can cover lock. Lonsdale has played lock, so all the players who play lock basically are top of this.
Yeah, and with the exception actually of Alex Mann, who is an out and Teddy Levbow, who are out and out back rowers, and obviously tips. Yeah, so I'd say I'd be tempted, as much as it would involve neglecting my favourite child of Cardiff. I'd say my Cardiff nomination, I'd be tempted with Ben Donnell, just because I do also think he does bring a lot of aggression as well, which I do think something the Wales pack have missed.
Okay.
And that extra weight, which helps our other issue of the Wales team, which is the scrum half. I think for the Ospreys, if we're not going for, I'll say if Jack Morgan's out and we're including Ratty amongst the second rows, I'd be tempted to go for Harry Deves. Just because it also gives us an out 7 option.
And then for Scarlets,
I think I'll let you pick the Scarlets and the Dragons.
I've already got Keddy from the Dragons, so
yep.
Scarlets, I'd probably have to go Plumtree. I just want to see you gain line success again. Yeah, so Plumtree's above Leather Barrow. And, I love Tame Plumtree. So I'm going... Oh, Dan Davis is quite up there as well, but I am going Plumtree.
Yeah, so I think there we've got two who I'd call out-and-out sixes. Two who would definitely be six and two who I'd say would good the sevens, really, although they've both played a lot of time at six, which is quite interesting. And
we know that Wales's two first-choice sevens aren't here, so...
Yes. Right.
Okay.
If we move on to 8, so 8 for us is almost purely getting past the game line, but also the type of 8 that Gatland likes. He tends to like more of a wide channel threat, so we're also looking a lot of defenders beaten as well. So players who can evade tackles as much as possible.
Yeah, number 8s dodge a lot of tackles, picking off from the base of the scrum, and they make some cheap meters off scrums as well. So there's only 4 Welsh-based number 8s that meet our minutes criteria, and they are Aaron Wainwright, Carwyn Tuipulotu, Mackenzie Martin, and Morgan Morris. So Morgan Morris has got the best gain line success at
not surprising
5.42 per 80. Aaron Wainwright in second with 5.05, then Tuipulotu, then Mackenzie Martin. Are you surprised to see Martin that low?
Not really. I know it sounds weird, but like watching him play, he definitely looks like a young man who's not quite ready, built for his frame yet. A bit like Carwyn Tuipulotu when he first came on the scene. It's taking him a while to get into his groove and work out what he wants.
Contact meters I've gone to now. Tuipulotu comes out top here. Actually, Aaron Wainwright comes out bottom. So he's on 8.52 contact meters per 80. Tuipulotu 15.05, and then Morgan Morris is in second, 12.96. That's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I always find it interesting because obviously you assume if you break in the game line more, you're going to make more post-contact meters again. But it's interesting to see that when Carwyn Tuipulotu does break the game line, it's usually a bust, and it is probably more of these wide channels. Aaron Wainwright, a bit less, but I don't know if that's necessarily again. Sometimes you've got to caveat this with how the teams they're playing in play.
Yeah.
And if Aaron Wainwright's the primary carrier and he's coming up first and he's getting stopped by these heavy defences, it's hard. Because I know Morgan Morris is that kind of carrier, but he's braced through anyway, which is interesting.
Yeah. What were the other stats for number 8s, mate?
So our next best, so we had game line, so the contact meters thing, then it's defenders beaten. And
we'll do that on analyst because they've got tackles evaded percentage, so that's a good one.
Yeah, so we'll use that as a tiebreaker. So yeah, we're looking at offloads now, which, Aaron Wainwright, good hands, not surprising. Morgan Morris surprises me a bit, being second.
Yep. I think Wainwright and Morgan Morris are the obvious ones, to be honest.
I think so. I mean, maybe Carwyn Tuipulotu gets a shout. Actually, if it does say anything, it says, actually, Martin was called up too soon, which is sort of a thing, particularly in the camp.
Hmm.
That,
I think so.
We're all very happy then, but probably, and then tackle evasion, which again is an optimal analyst.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
So.
I will just number 8 tackle a lot, so I will just put in number of tackles in here. I think I know who is going to come out top, but do it anyway. Oh, Mackenzie Martin. I was wrong.
Again,
Mackenzie...
Cardiff heavy. We don't. If you look at a lot of the games Cardiff have played, it's lots of very strong, tough defensive efforts. Hence,
18.6 tackles per 80 is mental. That is a lot.
Yeah, and then you wonder why. If you look at average possession for Cardiff and territory, we're quite low down in the RC. So it makes sense that he's not carrying as much, so he's not making as many meters, and then he's getting through. But I do think, and also I think he's just too knackered by the time he actually does get the ball.
Yeah. Okay, so are we happy with Wainwright and Morris then as our 2 nominations? I did want to push for Carwin, but
I mean, Carwin probably gets a slight push up because of his tackles and the meters he makes, which maybe makes you think against Wainwright, which would be interesting. But I'd say, I think for this tiebreak, I feel like for this decision, I'm going to go for the more experienced Wales international.
I'll tell you what. You know what? Fuck the rules. I'm going to put Carwin in, and we're going to have 3.
All right.
And then we'll pick it.
Decide it all on that.
Okay, right. Scrum half. Right, so this is where things get different. So this is the first position where we're not taking contact and gain line success into it, because that's not what scrum halves are for, unless you're Antoine Dupont for some reason. So what's the first criteria for scrum halves then, mate?
So we've gone for kicks, because a good kicking game wins you games. And so that's going to be a feature for both 9 and 10. So kicks and the kick meters.
I've still filtered on number 8, so this is how much Aaron Wainwright and Morgan Morris kick per game.
So Morgan Morris is the better kicker. There you go. Even more of a reason why he should be on there.
Okay, so scrum half then. So we've got Dane Blacker, Ellis Bevan, Gareth Davis, Kieran Hardy, Reuben Morgan Williams, Rodri Williams, and Thomas Williams. First thing that jumps out to me here... Thomas is actually out. First thing that jumps out to me here is how little Kieran Hardy has been kicking for the Scarlets, which is mental because his kicking game is his best feature.
Yes. Which also probably explains an awful lot about the Scarlets.
Yes. That's very frustrating as a Scarlets fan to read.
So I feel like on number of kicks, I don't think we can really make a thing. I wouldn't say there's really much in there. So I think
Thomas Williams and Ellis Bevan being the top is unsurprising because Cardiff are a very heavy kicking team.
Yeah, we're also a very transition ball, and again we don't get much territory possession, so we basically when we do get the ball, we've got to kick it away, otherwise we're just defending on our line. But
kick meters as well. This is a tactical thing, so if you're clearing the ball from your own 22 a lot, your kick meters are probably higher than if you're kicking contestable to try and pressure people on the edge of their own 22. But Thomas Williams and Gareth Davis come out the top for kick meters.
Yeah. Whether you argue that it's because they're kicking too long or not is another story. So I feel like, again, as much as we feel like kicking is very important, our scrum halves are much for muchness. Really?
Yeah. So what's the other stats then?
So our next ones are passes and try involvements.
Okay, try involvements is an analyst one. So passes, Kieran Hardy, surprisingly the most passes. Now that kind of probably ties into the fact he doesn't kick very much. He always passes it. Reuben Morgan Williams comes into play here now, and Thomas is there as well. I think what I'm learning from this is Thomas Williams is probably Wales's number 1 at the moment. Yes.
So, I mean, which is good news because he's hopefully going to be fit for Australia, but for the South Africa game, he's out. I think our best options maybe try assists as a tiebreaker because I feel like, again, I don't think there's a huge amount actually that separates our nines.
Okay, so I'm probably going to go Cowdor, and we can't pick Thomas Williams, so who are you going for the other nominee then? If I bring kicks back into it.
There's a little bit of a vibes here, but I'd say probably Reuben Morgan Williams, based on who I say is the second best.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with that as well.
Yeah. So I see a Cowdor thing. Yeah, I mean, and then we'll go to analysis. I feel like with some of these positions, one will start, one will be on our, so we're going to pick our starting 15, but we the loser for a lot of these positions is probably the obvious bench option as well.
Yeah. Okay, next is the big one. Next is fly half. So I've done a lot of looking into fly halves lately, and it is amazing how different some of these nominations are. So what's the first stat for fly halves? So I'll tell you what. No, let's do it like this. We're going to do kick, pass, run. The three things a fly half can do. So kicks in play. I need to filter on fly half. So, by the way, the nominations are Kai Evans, who's played a lot of fullback, so take his stats with a big grain of salt. Johan Lloyd, who again has played at fullback, but the vast majority of his time has come at fly half. Owen Williams, Sam Costello, and Will Reid. No Dan Evans, and no Jack Welsh because he's Australian.
Yeah, and Dan Edwards, not Dan Evans, who retired a few.
Oh, sorry, Dan Edwards.
Obviously, and Ben Thomas's majority is the centre. So
yeah, he's being counted as a centre.
Option.
Yes. So what did I say? So I said kicks in play, passes, and then total carries. Okay. So what do we see here? We see that Owen Williams passes the most of any fly half. He also kicks the most of any fly half, and he carries the least.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's he's not particularly a running threat. I wouldn't say there's any surprise there.
Kai Evans is pretty low down on everything, so I think we can count him out. And I think it's fair to say that Will Reid is Dragon's first choice fly half.
Yes. And obviously there's no Cardiff representation for this one due to us primarily picking South African.
Yeah, Tina's Devere. So Costello kicks the second most, and then Will Reid, and then Johan Lloyd. If I just bring in kick meters, which I think is more valid for 10s than for 9s. Kick meters.
The other one might be penalty kick. Another good one might be penalty kick meters. Like how far can they get the ball down the line?
Okay, I can put that in as well. So again, Owen Williams top in both counts. Then Costello, Kai Evans starts to come back into it. Then Johan Lloyd, and then Will Reid. Look, we know that Sam Costello will start at 10 for Wales this summer. He is the guy. But what is interesting, again, when I was doing the prelims, Owen Williams comes across very, very well in all of these stats. Most of the stats that we're interested in for 10s, bar one. And that's his goal kicking.
Yeah, so this is for me probably the main one. Although you can compensate this by having other players, the Welsh regions generally don't have alternate goal kickers. It is usually the 10 that has the job.
Yeah.
I mean, Dragons are a bit different. Kai Evans used to do them a lot over Will Reid, but he hasn't been available for quite a lot of the season.
So Sam Costello is second to Will Reid for goal kicking percentage. Will Reid's goal kicking is very good, 0.89. So that's 89% goal kicker. Sam Costello, despite his famous miss against the Dragons, is an 83% goal kicker. Owen Williams, 48%. That's shocking.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right at all, to be honest. Like, you can't be dealing with that. Like, I feel like that was, and I think given what a lot of Ospreys fans have said about him, I think they would be massively. I mean, without knowing where the kicks are, but you know, I just pure vibes on this one. Like Owen Williams wasn't very good. Yes, he kicked and passed a lot, but you know, we haven't actually got anything. So one other thing I think is important with fly halves are try assists, which I do believe we have that stat. I don't know if that's
I do, but we'll come back to that for try involvements a bit later.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of stats for fly halves, so I'm going to be doing more posts on this. So this is a kind of work in progress document. Johan Lloyd is someone that some people have really taken a shine to in Wales, and I can't fault his effort or his commitment or even his talent. He's clearly massively talented. For me, I don't view Johan Lloyd as a fly half, and we've spoken about this a lot, Harley. I did some number crunching, And of all, I looked at 12, 13 international fly halves. Ioan Lloyd spends more time at the bottom of rucks than any of them, which for me is not what I'm looking for from my fly half.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said. I mean, if anyone would have been a fly on the wall when we went to go see the derby between Cardiff and Steelers at the Arms Park, it was just Ioan Lloyd's at the back of the bottom of the ruck. Oh, look who's in the bottom of the ruck again. And I feel like that in a system where you have dual playmakers, that can be fine. So obviously, like Springboks, Andre Pollard is quite a heavy carrying 10. Or, so you have the reputation of it, but you had a Willie LaRue who could organise the attack. We have like a villains there. So it's about, but we don't typically play dual playmakers, depending on who we select for us. When we go on to centres and fullbacks, then someone who can step in and take over that. Yeah, I feel like for me, 10 is the position where the amount of meters you can make is the least important, because I want you on the feet actually organising the attack.
At international level, especially.
Yeah, I said, especially if you haven't got a secondary person. So, yes, his goal kicking is actually surprisingly good, but he does spend an awful lot of time at the bottom of rucks.
He's got 117 carries this season. The next highest is Will Reed with 95. I will say, a lot of Dragons fans are big fans of Will Reed. I think he's not quite there. He's playing for a poor team, got to be honest. As are, the Scarlets aren't great either. This isn't just me kicking the Dragons. But I do think Will Reed is still quite rough around the edges. I still think he's got areas of his game to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he's, I think most Dragons fans will say that what they really want is an actual quality 10 come in and almost nurture Will Reed and stand off the round edges. They were hoping Angus O'Brien would take a lot of the 10 share this season, but unfortunately, just injuries ruled him out.
I've also got meters per kick over here, and that comes out to the best is Owen Williams again, and then Costello, and then Kai Evans, and then Will Reed is actually the shortest kicker, and then Ioan Lloyd. So I think we've pretty much arrived, mate, at Owen Williams and Sam Costello, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a hard one to take with Owen Williams' goal kicking, but yeah, I mean, in terms of a lot of the infield play, he is the better one. I mean, he may be a stationary field gun at this point in his career, but
well, look, let's be honest. The Ospreys have got 3 backs moves. Number 1, the fly half kicks it 30 metres down the pitch. Number 2, Kieran Williams short ball off a line out. Number 3, knock on. That's the some options of backs moves that the Ospreys run. So, but look, even again, offloads, Owen Williams top. So, for me, Owen Williams is the leading contender based on the stats.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes the eye test doesn't hold true.
Yeah.
So I think we've got our 2 fly half. Shall we move on to the centres now? So again, we'll pick 4 of these. We'll try roughly to pick 2 of each. Obviously, there are some centres this season who've switched between the 2 positions.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that.
Like Ben Thomas has played 12 and 15.
Okay, so need to bring in Gainline again. So the nominations are Aneurin Owen, Ben Thomas, Eddie James, Joe Roberts, who's injured, so he won't be able to go. Yeah. Johnny Williams, Kieran Williams, Mason Grady, who has played the majority of his game on the wing, Owen Watkin and Steph Hughes. And in terms of Gainline success, people won't be surprised to hear Kieran Williams top, Johnny Williams second.
Yeah, again, I think just even without looking at stats, I think most people say they were probably the 2 best at busting through the Gainline. And both have nominally been 12 and played 12 and 13 this season.
Kieran Williams hasn't really. He's had 13 on his back, but he's played 12.
There are points when Eddie James has played as inside centre, and Johnny Williams has played as inside centre as well. So Yeah, we do have to take them such stuff. Again, unsurprisingly, Eddie James up there for contact meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think purely on Bosch, but I don't know if we want to have some centres who also.
Well, this is the thing. So, Kieran Williams and Johnny Williams, theoretically, you could pick both because Johnny Williams has played a lot at 13 this season. But Gatland, the way that Nick Tompkins has been playing, Nick Tompkins passes more than any other 12 in the Six Nations. And it does seem to be his thing is his distributing, which is a bit odd because for me, if you want a distributing 12, there are better options. So I'm going to look at passes next for our 12 options, or for our centre options, I should say. Owen Watkin is up there, as is Ben Thomas. You would expect Ben Thomas to be up there based on him being able to play fly half. Owen Watkin being the next best.
What's impressive, actually, is that, unsurprisingly, with Mason Grady spending a lot of time on the wing, he's right down on this stat. I don't think it surprises anyone. Like, if you play on the wing, you don't tend to pass as much. Steph Hughes, again, is probably more of that distributor. Johnny Williams, though, and Kieran Williams are actually still quite high up compared to some of them. So, I mean, that's interesting. I'd say it's probably more than you'd have thought. And again, I know Owen is considered more of this sort of distributing 12 than a game line buster. So I think it does tend to.
Go on, sorry, mate.
I was going to say it does. So I think here it would be what are we picking? And if we're going for pure Warren ball, we're going for a big 12. But do
we pick the smallest 12, Kieran Williams.
Well, I say big 12. I mean, I've been big as in get through that game.
Yeah, so I think Kieran Williams and Johnny Williams both need to be in there as nominees based on our criteria. What other criteria did we have for 12s? I think I put 12 specifically in the sheet.
Yeah, so you've got meters, passes, defenders committed, tackle evasion, so there's some option analyst stats. And then for the 13s, would be actually our second most important is the line breaks. So basically, we want the 13 who can bust through the line to set.
So straight away, I'll say there that 13s very rarely come out top of many stats. It's statistically one of the hardest positions to analyse because 13s can spend a lot of the game not touching the ball at all and not apparently doing anything. And a lot of the defending at 13 is actually not making the tackle. It's about just being in the right place. So 13s statistically struggle to come out of it. Meters made, Mason Grady is top. That's probably because he's been on the wing. Again, Johnny Williams and Kieran Williams come into it a lot. So Ben Thomas also comes into it quite well, which I don't think a lot of people will realise, but Ben Thomas, his contact stats are actually good. He is not a bad 12 when it comes to trucking it up necessarily.
Yeah, that's it. It's not his game and it's not the way he's used at Cardiff, but he can do it, so which is quite useful. So I think one of the issues we've had with Nick Tompkins is he was there to pass the ball out to George North for George North to make the break, and if the defence rushed upon him too quickly, he wasn't able to rescue the situation effectively with his carrying. Whereas I feel like Ben Thomas might be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Plus, also he's a kicking option, which means he's got that extra thing to go over.
Yeah. So in terms of others, we've got, if I go to clean breaks, which we just discussed, Mason Grady again top, played on the wing, that's what's driving that. Joe Roberts is second, unfortunately injured, and then you got Ben Thomas again. So for our four centre picks, mate, I'm on Kieran Williams, Johnny Williams, Grady, and Ben Thomas.
I think that's the only one I'd be tempted to say is maybe if you select Grady as a wing option and then move and have Owen Watkin, but I think Grady certainly towards the end of the season has been playing primarily at 13 and actually doing a very good job.
And I feel like Gatland wants to have him as a 13, plans to use him as a centre. The thing with Mason Grady for me is you need to have a plan for him. If you just throw him on the pitch and see what he does, he can dissolve into thin air. But if you do what Cardiff have been doing with him and gone, hey, you're massive and rapid, so let's get you on the ball a lot, then you actually start to see him being effective.
Yeah, because even from 13 channel, you see he's quite often leading the kick chase. So instead of kicking directly to the wings on these box kicks, they actually come in a little bit further in field into the 13 channel, which actually he gets a lot of change out because a lot of 13s aren't ready for that aerial assault, and it's usually a little bit out of comfort for the defensive back three. Although I mean, teams would easily adapt when they see that same thing. But actually, that's one thing I do find quite useful.
Okay, so what did we say? That we said Keith from Neath, Johnny, Grady, and Thomas.
Yeah, so I think those are those I think are the four statistically best centres. I said one thing which is a bit disappointing is we don't have stats for there's no clean and obvious defensive stat, which would be helpful for 13.
I don't believe there's such a thing as defensive stats.
I mean, there are. It's just that I just find that there's far too much context you have to apply to all of them, which can be a problem. Right. So if we go to our back three,
so wingers first.
We are going to split this. I believe this is split wingers and fullback.
Yep. So wingers, we've got Ewan Rosser, who I think has had a great season, as has Jared Rosser, Keelan Giles, Luke Morgan, Rio Dyer, Ryan Conbeer, Steph Evans, Theo Cabango, Tom Rogers, who many see as a future fullback, and Tommy Lewis. So what's the first stat for wingers that I've got in there?
So this again is, as always, is gain line, and then after that it's contact meters.
Okay, so let's go gain line first. I always need to filter because I can never find it. So gain line success step, right, okay. I've remembered how I checked beforehand, right? Prepare yourself. Steph Evans is going to come out very well in a lot of these. So Steph Evans is clearly the best for gain line success. Now that's not through physical carrying, that's through footwork.
Yeah, which again is being something that's a huge strength of his game. Jared Ross as well. Jared Ross, I think, is a bit more. He gets up to speed and he smashes through people.
Yeah, contact meters I'll throw in there as well.
Yeah.
So contact meters again. Steph Evans top, Ryan Conbeer second, Tom Rogers third. So the three of the Scarlets options in there. Then Ewan Rosser. You got Luke Morgan is actually top, better than Keelan Giles in that sense. Rio Dyer. Not looking great at the moment, which is mad because we know Rio Dyer is class.
Yes, another one. But again, I feel like with Rio Dyer and actually similarly to Theo Cabango, they're not the bulky winger that's bashing through. They tend to be more elusive. They tend to be, the wingers who get the ball in space. I think one thing that we do need is try scored. That is the big one for wingers.
We'll come to that.
We'll get to that there. So next one, so we're looking at.
We've got clean breaks in here now. So Ryan Conbeer has now gone to the bottom. Top is Jared Rosser. Then Rio Dyer, so the two Dragons wingers coming out top. Keelan Giles has shut up there. Theo Cabango as well. I think you're right. The key one is try involvements, which we'll come to in a bit. But can we come up with four nominations?
Try scored as well. I think try scored as well is quite.
Try scored is included in try involvements. Try involvements is assists and scores.
Okay. I think you've got to, at least on the evasiveness stats and getting over the game line, which is our main focus, Steph Evans has to go in. I mean, we're not putting kicking involved in this, which is
Well, this is the thing. Steph Evans kicks more than any other winger in the URC by a long way.
When I say we're not involving kicks, I mean we're not talking about the quality of the kicks.
Well, that's something that doesn't come out in the stats. That's the thing.
Yes. Again, this is one of the issues. So I think Steph Evans comes up quite high.
So statistically, Steph Evans is one of the best wingers in the URC, which is why I always say that the stats never beat the eye test. But based on what we've been going on so far, Steph Evans has to be in there.
Yep, I think. And then I think if we go back to the contact side of things, we're looking at so Steph Evans. I do think in terms of like evasion, and when you start getting to this sort of almost the winger who's out in wide open spaces as well. Jared Rosser on the stats, both being a physical bruiser and just getting through players as well. That he does. I think he may not make the most meters after the game, but he does. He
Yep.
does give you go forward, which is quite useful in those wide channels.
I can't not
He's,
throw Dyer in there. I've got to
can't.
have Dyer in there.
Yeah, I think Dyer as well. I think when you start looking at some of the more evasive stats as opposed to the punching hole stats, he does come through. And I'd like to nominate Cabango as well in that.
Well, that's the thing. That's the big
You
debate.
might have to talk me out. You've got.
It's Cabango or Giles.
I can fit both.
5 nominations for wingers then.
Who else? We got Steph
I got
Evans, Jared Rosser, Giles, Dyer, Cabango. I think go with 5 and we'll pick.
Okay, and so that leaves us with fullback. So the big one for fullback that we're not going to look at all is meters made, because
it's too lazy.
it means nothing for fullbacks. Yeah.
So I think for us, our first one we wanted, actually, this is when we were not looking at physically punching holes on game line, we're actually looking at line breaks and how are they cutting through the line to create opportunities, which is something that a lot of the best fullbacks do.
Yep. So clean breaks. Oh, I need to filter on fullback.
Yep.
So actually not that many nominations here. So Johnny McNichol is top. He's... Well, he could still be picked.
He is ineligible because he's under the 25 cap rule now.
Oh, right. Okay, damn it. All right, so Cam win it then.
So based on this, first one, we've got Ewan Nicholas and Cam win it.
Yeah.
Not really surprising Cam win it's up there. Jacob Beetham not made any clean breaks. One caveat with Beetham is he's played probably as much time at 12 as he has at fullback in terms of minutes played, maybe if not necessarily starts.
One thing that I wanted to check was turnovers lost, because this suggests how often you drop the ball. Again, win it's top here. Oh, McNichol slightly above, and then Nicholas lower down. Ewan Nicholas, I will say, has had a great season. He was voted Scarlet's Fans Player of the Season, and he has looked very good.
Yeah, looked very solid, very reassured. I think Cam Winnett, kind of not surprising, has lost a few. I mean, he's always thereabouts trying to get the high ball, so he's bound to drop a couple, plus get isolated when the defence is when we're a bit lazy coming back to secure the ball. So then we're looking at carries, kicks, and passes. So we're looking at, can we use...
Okay, so kick meters is a good one.
Yeah, because for returning kicks is always useful.
Yeah, so Cam win it top there. Beetham again doing quite well.
Yeah, again, I said he's also got that traditional 10 playmaker type thing growing up as 10 to the thing. So that's not quite surprising.
Yeah.
Meters, again,
the same.
I almost feel like there should be a debate of 2 options here for this one. I feel like it's just going to be one man where the stats show it.
It's going to be win it. To be honest, there's no real point. There's no point going further than that, is it? Congratulations, Cam Winnett. You're the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if we get onto a bench, I'd like to make an argument for Beetham on their versatility grounds, but I think it would depend where the rest of the team goes.
Yeah, we don't have time to talk about bench. Right. So that's the end of my bit. So that's the full team. So now we're going to go to Opta Analyst. So you okay to grab that and share your screen, mate?
Yep. I'll just share the screen now. Because it takes nothing. Just let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, there we go.
Right, so just proof we did actually have some notes. Alright, so we're going to go to Club Rugby Stats. So the way this Opta Analyst works, you've got a lovely little scroll bar here. I'll just make that a bit bigger for myself. So I started off looking at our loose head options.
It was between Smith and Domachowski. So what we're looking for here, we're looking at rucks, aren't we?
Yeah, so we're looking at rucks. So total number of rucks hit, 198, but he's effective in 84, in about 85% of them. And then
then you go to Domachowski. That's attacking rucks as well. We should also check defensive rucks.
We'll go into defence. You've just got to change tap on this one. So here, Domachowski is a slightly less effective ruck carrier. Ruck time. So actually, I think that's Point Smith. So if we go on to defence and look at this, so unfortunately, filters every time. So for Domachowski, he's attend very few. So I think most players attend a lot fewer defensive rucks than do attacking rucks, just because of the way it works. So he's only effective in 3% of his defensive rucks. And if I go by Nicky, because he's the only Nicky, he's actually effective at 25, so a quarter. So Nicky Smith clearly is a much better ruck operator.
Yeah, so that's our loose head selected. Then we're going to be going with Nicky Smith.
Yep, I think that's fair enough. Do you want to do tight head or hooker?
Let's do tight head. Yep. So the nominees are Rhys Henry and Rhys Litterick.
Yeah, so that would be good. So we can put all the Rhyses together. I just want to point out on the Opteraton list, they've somehow messed up Rhys Carey's name massively.
Have they?
Yeah, so it's with an A and a copyright. So just film this, just some things. So because we've also got Rhys Davies and we've got that. Rhys Henry. In fact, I can't type. So defensively, 11% effective at defending rucks, but he's only hit 9.
Mm-hmm.
I know we don't like tackle success, but he is to about 97% with 5% dominance, which is not bad.
Do you want to go attacking rucks then?
Yeah, so we go Rhys Henry's attacking rucks. Again, got to go through the filter. Right, so attacking rucks 121, and he's 83%. So I'm just rounding up to 2 digits.
Okay.
For people listening. Right. So and then Rhys Litterick.
How many games has Rhys Litterick actually started? Not many.
He started a load at the start of the season whilst Azarati was away, and then he had a big injury over the Christmas festive period, which is why his minutes are so much lower. Because he only just came back. He was only just fit again for the summer tour, but he's now fit and firing. So, and obviously he's second to Azarati for a lot of these.
Yeah. Okay, so Litterick has got 86% effectiveness on attack.
And nearly 8% on defence, and has hit 13 in fewer minutes than Rhys Henry. So I would argue that's...
So that feels like a Rhys Henry then?
No, I'm saying Litterick's being more effective in fewer minutes. So he was
Henry was 11%.
Yeah, in defensive rucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Rhys Henry. So unsurprisingly, an Ospreys front row.
All Ospreys front row. Not Tom Botha though.
Yeah.
Well, all Ospreys locks, but I'm pretty sure who's going to win out as hooker as well. So
yeah.
Hooker options were Lake and James Benjamin.
Yep. So Derry Lake hit, in just over 400 minutes, hit 14 rucks, and he was effective in 7.1% of them in defence. And James Benjamin, he's actually nearly 19% effective in 32 rucks. But again, we've got the caveat of he's played a lot of back row as well. And let's put up on that one. Then attacking rucks, which is when we want our things. James Benjamin is nearly 87% effective at ruck time, and Derry Lake is 90%. So I think that's a solid Derry Lake win.
So there you go. All Wales front row. All Ospreys front row for Wales of Lake, Smith, and Henry.
Yep. And then locks, we've got. I'm going to start with James Ratty. So 82% effectiveness in the attack. Then our other locks were
Morgan Jones.
Morgan Jones, 93.2. So very much more the traditional role of second row of as a ruck clearer.
Yeah. I told everybody Morgan Jones's stats are really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Seb Davis, 85%. So sort of.
Yeah.
Thereabouts. And then we have. That was the 4, wasn't it? So.
Carter, you're missing Ben Carter.
Carter, yeah. Apologies, Dragons fans. 85%, so I'd say on the lower end there for Rex. So
Okay.
Ben Carter did really good in a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
defensively. So if again we go James Ratty, 7% again. So the effectiveness in defensive Rex is quite low because it's very hard to affect the counter ruck or turnover. So you do expect these to be quite low. Morgan Jones again, 9%. So yeah, again Morgan Jones coming out very strongly.
Morgan Jones is in, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think I can't. Ben Carter 10%, so he's a bit more of a use on the defensive side of things, and again, very good tackler, so that might hold him instead. And then Seb is 40. So actually, he's unsurprisingly for a Cardiff player, they get amongst it quite a bit. I think I'm going to have to leave you the decision. I think for me, Morgan Jones probably sitting up there. I'm leaning more towards James Ratty than the other two. I'll let you have a pick on there.
I was kind of leaning more towards Ben Carter, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm happy to be overruled on that one.
Because I think James Ratty, I think his carrying was better. Let me just recheck. Let's just go off who's carrying.
Was the best carrier. Yeah, so.
Okay, well then Ratty it is then. So
yes, we go with Ratty and Morgan Jones. So there you go. We've got our first non-Osprey in Morgan Jones at lock.
No, I'm sorry for Ben Carter. I really thought he had a chance.
Yeah, I feel like he gets the honourable. He gets the 19 jersey. The other option is if we're not happy with the 6 options, we could always move Ratty outward and bring Carter in.
Yep, we can do that.
We'll see. We'll have a look. So our 2 main 6s are Alex. I think the 2 out-and-out 6s are Plumtree and Alex Mann. So looking at that, so in defensive rooks he's about 14% effective. Again, Cardiff, they do a lot of defending, and they are geared up more for messing the crap out of Owen's ball.
Who was that? Sorry, that was
Alex Mann.
Alex Mann wasn't a nominee.
Oh, was he not?
It was Ben Donald.
Ben Donald, that's the one. Yeah, sorry. That's just because I can't not have Alex. So Ben Donald in defensive rooks is only effective 7% of the time. Plumtree was close to 14%.
14.
So it's 13.3. So
okay,
much higher defensively than in terms of attack. Ben Donald 94%, so really good on own ball.
Yeah.
Team Plumtree is only effective. Admittedly, he's only hit 77 rucks in 500 minutes, which is quite low.
Yeah.
For what what typically is a 6, but I should carry out that's not how Scarlets have used Plumtree. So he's only effective at 69%. Nice percent of rucks. So based on that, I'm inclined more towards Ben Donald. If this is going to be the tiebreaker, but if we want to go for carrying,
I think so. I think Ben Donald's other stats were all pretty good for Tame Plumtree. Tame Plumtree's only just back from injury, to be honest. So yeah, okay, Donald it is for 6, and then it's between Dees and Keddy for 7.
Sorry, Dees. So an attack, 85%, and then Keddy 75. So it's a dead heat in terms of attacking rucks.
No, I thought you said it was 85 for Dees.
No, yeah, so I've got a memory of a goldfish today.
Okay, so
it's information coming in. I'm more of a conduit than a sponge these days.
Yeah.
So in defence we've got start with Deves again, 17.1%, which is as we've seen go through, is actually very much on the higher side.
That is very good.
Yep. And then Keddy, it's nice when they've got a name that's not too many. Nearly 20%. So I think
Deves wins it overall.
I'd say with Deves' carrying overall, I'd say probably better, and I feel like Wales have far more problems on own ball than we do off ball, and having someone who can clear out rucks. That's one problem. Now for 8, we were talking about. We weren't thinking rucks. We were thinking more. We're looking more towards triangle.
Tackle evasion.
Tackle evasion. So our first choice 8 was. We'll go with Wainwright first because I can remember his name. So Wainwright is tackle evasion is 26%. There or thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
And then.
Oh, we can't pick Ben Donnell.
Why not?
He hasn't got a photo.
There you go. So Tame Plumtree gets in because he has a photo.
No, it's all right. Well, he's sorry, Ben. You're just going to be blank. You're going to be a blank man.
Yeah, and then Morgan Morris is tackle evasion is only 17%.
Okay, and what about Carwin Tupelotu? I think I know what the answer to this is going to be.
Yep. The only player called Carwin in the league. Yeah, so it's only 7% tackle evasion, and 1 involvement.
Okay, so Wainwright, that's who it's going to be, isn't it?
Yeah. Morgan Morris 9 try involvements. Wainwright only 2 try involvements. So I mean, in terms of making tries, Morgan Morris is quite good. I think because we've just said tackle evasions is our big thing for 8, then it's got to be Wainwright because he's far and away better.
Yeah. Okay then. So that's on to scrum halves then. So this big one for scrum halves is try involvements.
Yeah. So Gareth Davis, and not the injured Gareth Thomas, as you can see, he's not played that many minutes, which is why wasn't in reckoning. So he's had 11, and then our next one is
Ruben Morgan Williams.
Oh God, I might just spell it. Yeah, so 7. So Gareth Davis.
Okay. That sounds about right, to be honest.
Yeah, Cowdor is basically dragged Scarlet's kicking and screaming through some games, so I think that makes sense.
Yeah. So cool. So on to fly half then. So we're between Sam Costello and Owen Williams. I can't remember what the special stat we said would be for them.
So if I quickly go over a tab. So that for them, it's tackle evasion again.
Okay, and try involvement. I can tell you that Sam Costello doesn't have any try involvements this season. I already know that.
Yeah, so absolutely none of them. But yeah, they're 21% tackle evasion. And then if we go see all the many Owens, so Owen Williams has 1 try involvement, which is not great for fly halves. But he's actually a 30% tackle evasion.
So are we saying Owen Williams then?
So yeah, we're putting Owen Williams at 10.
Look, like I said at the beginning, his stats this season, anything other than goal kicking, has been great.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we can rescue it with a kicking 12. So if I start on,
and to be honest, this is just so far. This is kind of. I mean, there's been some funny picks, but we've got how many Ospreys so far? Considering the Ospreys are clearly the best Welsh region.
I mean, they make up the majority of the pack. I mean, other than I'm sure there are plenty of people who'd argue Morris over Wainwright or putting in the likes of a James Fender in if he was fit and available for more of the season. Adam Beard would have walked in had he been if he wasn't injured. So that's it.
So centres is going to be a funny one because Johnny Williams is considered a 12, but he, based on where he's been playing this season, I think you can look at him as a 13 option as well.
So the way I was looking at this is I was probably looking at Ben Thomas is probably an out-and-out 12. Johnny Williams is a 12, 13. Keith, I'd say, internationally is just a 12. I don't think he'd be able to cut to a 13.
Yeah, agree.
And then, Grady, again, this is an out-and-out 13. So you've got Johnny Williams, who's the only one really who I think switches to, and if he's better than the 2 12 options, we can check him in there. But, yeah. So
let's go for defenders. There's a stat on there which is 2 or more defenders committed.
Yeah. So Ben Thomas, he commits 2 or more tacklers 44% of the time. So again, I'm rounding up or down to the nearest one. Then we're going to go for Keith from Neath. Unfortunately, I've got to put in his actual name. because they
Boo.
don't understand Keith from Neath. He, unsurprisingly, it's 60% of the time commits 2 or more tacklers. Again,
Yep.
not surprising. Then, no, he does have a H. Johnny McNichol somehow is twice because he's in Crusaders as well, and his stats are surprisingly similar for both. That's more of an.
He's been Crusaders' best player since he's moved. I've watched the Crusaders a few times.
Yeah. Johnny Williams only committed 2 or more tacklers 47% of the time.
Okay, I'm not that surprised about that, to be honest, because he does have a certain amount of rabbit in headlights whenever he gets the ball.
Yeah, so we go there, and then for completeness, Mason Grady is only 46% of the time. But again, he's played a lot of the wing, so he's probably more up against more one-on-one tackles than he is having to draw.
Okay, so I would say that Keith from Neath is in.
Yep. Sounds good. I mean, I do feel like we want Ben Thomas in there as a distributing option, but because we're looking for our Gatland ball 12, it's going to be that. And then for 13, we did have our super stat was
tackle evasion and try involvements.
So Grady has 7 try involvements and is evasive 30% of the time.
Okay.
And Johnny W. Come on. This is when people realise how terrible I am at typing. So Johnny Williams has only got the 2 try involvements and only a tackle evasion of 20%. So I think for me it's Grady.
Okay.
Grady sits in.
Again, that passes the laugh out loud test, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kieran,
Yeah, I feel like,
you go on.
I mean, it's a very Bosch. You're not going to. I don't think it matters who we put on our wings now, because I don't think the ball gets out that far. I think it'd just be Kieran and Grady swapping who trucks it up. But
Exactly.
As we do have to put a back 3 in for completeness, shall we start? Who do you want to go for first?
Okay, so try involvements and tackle evasion are the special stats. Steph Evans first.
I'm not typing out the full Stefan. So try involvements 3. As tackle evasion, I think you said the other one is 41% of the time, which considering he busts through a lot as well. And actually he commits 2 or more tacklers well over half the time as well. Actually, that's pretty good going for winger. Next one, do we want to go for the Rio?
You want to go for Rio Dyer?
Yep, so he is 5 try involvements, tackle evasion of 39%. So, yeah, I think again, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Right, next one on the list.
One of the Rosses, I can't remember which one.
We've gone for Jared, I believe.
Okay.
Jared Rosser, the only Jared in the league, in any of the leagues. 34% tackle evasion and 3 try involvements.
Okay. Theo Cabango.
Theo! Sorry, I just can't help it. 43% tackle evasion. So again, maybe not necessarily getting contact meters because he's avoiding them all. 3 try involvements again. Should be 4 because of that hat trick in Ulster. He definitely scored.
Okay.
No,
Keelan Giles.
And then Keelan Giles. Keelan. That's impressive. So 6 try involvements. So I think quite a bit, and then tackle evasion of 38%. So
reasonable. So that looks like, to me, I'd say Rio Dyer and Keelan Giles.
Yeah, I mean, Steph Evans is quite high on the evasion stats as well, but
I'm not putting Steph Evans in this team.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
this is the thing. The laugh out loud test. I say, yeah, I'm quite happy with Keelan and Rio. As much as I want Theo again, I'll always fight for you'll always fight for your own team to an extent. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Again, 15 is just win it. I'm not arguing it.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So there's the team then. So
if I'm going to stop sharing, so you can share yours.
I haven't quite finished doing it yet. I'm only on Keith.
From Neath. It's because of how long it takes to type the from Neath, isn't it?
Yeah. Who did we say 13 again? Grady.
Yeah. I said we've gone very, which actually, considering the balance, actually you've probably got two more fleet-footed wingers, and then you've got some heavy firepower on the second row, the centres, which guys tend to go for a heavy winger.
While I'm making this, then let's talk about some of the players that are missing. So, look, propping in Wales is a bit of a problem at the moment. So I don't think there's, Henry Thomas is probably the one that people will be saying, but to be honest, he's a bit out of sight, out of mind. I don't know if there's anything on the analyst you can type in to look at Henry Thomas, because I'm not sure what relevant stats on there will come up, to be honest.
Not necessarily prop relevance.
But he's not going to be available for South Africa anyway, because it's outside the international test window.
Yeah. So he's made, in 645 minutes, he's only made 33 carries, where he's gone into contact every single time. Dominant. That's it. He commits 2 more tackles for most, but again, I'm presuming that's the typical prop thing of being in the centre. His ruck effectiveness still isn't much better than any of the tight heads we selected. Defensively, he has made no turnover tackles, no breakdown steals. But he is a third effective in defensive rucks, but he's only hit 15 of them. Decent dominance ratio, so about 7.5%. So that's 83% in tackle success, which for a prop you should be probably making up the highest end of your tackles. Again, because they tend to be the pillars and the posts and the ones closest to the ruck, so you'd expect them to make more tackles.
Yeah.
There's nothing on this one about, like, it would be nice if they did a breakdown on things like scrums and the like. But I said on the free dashboard we're using, which is great to have. It's not the best. Yeah. The only other one I'd say outside, well, the two outside are probably Thomas Francis and Dylan Lewis. Dylan Lewis is,
Yeah, we're not going to have Tom Francis's stats playing for Provence. I don't think he's actually been playing that much for them, to be honest.
Do you think they're keeping him for top 14?
Yeah, obviously. Actually, they're playing Grenoble tonight. I need to check the score. But locks that are missing, Will Rowlands. I bet if you type Will Rowlands into the analyst, his carrying stats are going to be elite. He is a very, very good ball carrier.
Yeah, so if I just go forward, so we'll go through some of them in a minute. I'll switch back to attack. Yeah, Will Rowlands, he's dominant carry a third, 34% of the time, so just over a third. Makes gain line nearly 2/3 of the time, commits 2 tacklers 60% of the time. 9%, just under 10% tackle evasion, not surprising. 90% ruck effectiveness in attack. Good, solid. Speaking of ones we're missing, obviously you've got current Wales captain David Jenkins. Actually, not horrendous carrying stats in comparison. So 31% type dominance, 61% hits the gain line, which is the same as Will Rowlands. Commits 2 more tackles 47% of the time, 8% tackle evasion. Interestingly, he doesn't take. It's not. He only carries in. It's only 68 of his 74 carries have gone into contact. So I think that's. Ruxy's 83%. He's hit a lot, 300, which again gives the perception of David Jenkins being one of our main attacking ruck clear-outs. The other option you could have in the second row is obviously Chris Chunza, who has been playing a lot more second row since he's come back from injury.
How many minutes has he got, though? If he's not coming up, because Opta doesn't... Opta has a minutes limit as well, so if he's got below 400, I think he won't come up.
Yeah, I'll be in the like 3. I think if Stephen Kitchoff's only played 370, he's not there yet. But
okay.
It could also be that I just can't spell his name. Nah, I mean I can spell Chris, so yeah, he's not in there.
Okay, so
Chris Jones is not on, so we wouldn't be able to get him stats.
Quick question: which way round are we playing Giles and Dyer? Dyer on right.
I've played Dyer on the right. He tends to play them more for his club, and Giles tends to play left wing for that. I mean, could I see Gatland having them the other way around?
Yeah.
Because,
So other
most of our kickers tend to kick towards the left, and Rio
Yeah.
is by far the best kick chaser in Wales.
So we've got
Josh Adams.
no Josh Adams. Look, I love Josh Adams. I feel like he needs a break.
I think that's a consensus with a lot of people. I don't think he's going to get one though.
Mhm.
I mean, he's pulled out with Judgment Day, the news today, so with a hamstring twinge by the sound of it. So
Yeah.
as I said, I don't think he's been fully fit since he came back after the World Cup.
So Morgan, Jack Morgan is the player who has missed out based on minutes. Is it fair to say that we would both have him in over Deves?
Yeah,
Yeah.
easily. I mean, again, captain, so adding leadership, very good on the breakdown, very good tight carrier. I know he has played a bit of out for Wales and Ospreys out on the wide channels, but he's a very good in tight carrier, which is kind of what we're using our 7 for these days, because we've been picking a more athletic 8 and 6.
Yeah. Moving further back, with Thomas Williams being injured, I don't think we need to talk about Cowdor. I mean, at 6, I think on the eye test, I would go Plumtree, because I think he's got X factor, but the stats don't back it up at the moment. He's coming back off a long injury, though, to be fair. We know it will be Costello, will be the starting 10.
Yeah,
And then
I think as well with the goal kicking, it's a bit unforgivable. For less than 50% is just unforgivable.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Owen Williams will have played with Cowdor, though, before, if we're talking about cohesion.
Yeah, but I mean, like, forever ago. That's the thing, like, I would say Costello and Cowdor have a tighter relationship than Owen Williams would have with Cowdor these days.
And then on the wings, I can't think of any. You're going to probably name an obvious one. Any Welsh wings playing outside Wales that we've missed?
The only back three who a lot of people are talking about is Josh Hathaway. I haven't seen a huge amount of him. He's had surprisingly more minutes than I thought he would at the top level, at Premiership level. But I don't know. But that was in an incredibly poor Gloucester team.
In an incredibly poor Gloucester team, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely see the potential. I also think. I said Jacob Beetham, I think, hasn't probably had as many minutes as he'd have liked. I think he's a good shout actually as a second choice fullback because Kai Evans isn't fit. Other than that, really not many. I think Tommy Lewis, at least on the eye test, has looked very impressive whenever I've seen him play. So,
Yeah, I think so.
Combier, I think's flattered to deceive. I think he's but I think that's more because he's only been getting 2 minutes off the bench here and there. And he's had some good games, but I also think I don't know what it is. It's something vibe wise. There you go, that classic beautiful bend on all face.
Yes.
See.
So here's the team. So how many Ospreys we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 Ospreys, 2 Scarlets, 3 Cardiff, 2 Dragons.
I can only get to 8 Ospreys, but and also
1, 2, 3,
if
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh yeah, 8. Sorry, I must have counted Ben Donald.
Yeah, just because he's in black.
Yeah, he's in black. So second row is the one for me. I would be very tempted, and especially knowing Gatland, I would be very tempted to move Ratty to 6 and bring in Carter.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you wanted maybe a more, I say, because you've got 2 workman-like blocks there in Jones and Ratty. I mean, they do a lot of heavy ball carrying. I don't know if you'd be looking for more of a line-outy operator, in which case maybe Seb comes back in, because Seb is someone who's been around in the environment, has trained in the Six Nations but not being part of the squad. Again, could be that hybrid option. Yeah, again, I think based on that, because I said this is the problem. Looking for this game against South Africa, we are missing what would be our first choice lock pairing.
Yep.
And arguably our second and third choice slot pairings as well, because our first three choices are a combination of Rollins, Jenkins, and Beard.
Yeah, I think for his...
Well, is a big loss as well, because I think he is incredibly abrasive.
I think for the line-out work, Ben Carter has to come in, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm moving Ratty to 6 and then bringing in Ben Carter.
Fair enough. Not my... I said I would like an out-and-out 6. But I suppose Ben Donald's been a second row hybrid as well, so...
Yeah.
I think it does go more with that. Yeah, I don't think there's too many. I mean, the obvious injury is if Alato was fit, he would be playing.
Yeah, well, we said how many times have we said that down the years?
Yeah, but it's always been true.
Yeah.
So what are your general thoughts on this team then?
I think I'm based on the stats that we've seen. I'm confident that there's a level of physicality there compared to some of the other players. That a lot of them we haven't seen them at international level, like Rhys Henry in particular. We've never seen anywhere close to an international level game that he's played in. You got ones in there that we know can do a job at international level, particularly if you look at the spine of it, right? So Lake, Wainwright, Cowdor, Owen Williams can win it. That's all right. I haven't got any issues with that. Keith Williams, I just haven't seen. Look, his stats are as good as anybody, and I think the alternative based on who's fit is Johnny Williams, who people have also got issues with. I think one person who's unlucky is Owen Watkin. The stats haven't done him any favours.
I think as well. I think Ben Thomas gets hard done by honest, sort of like the style and the way we framed this team and the stats we're looking at.
Yeah, definitely. I think to be honest, based on how Gatland has been using his 12s, I'm very surprised that Ben Thomas hasn't been in already. I would definitely have him on the bench, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's got that versatility of covering 12, 10 and 15, I'd say in that order. Personally, I don't think he's the best.
60 split? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I mean, you know me, always going for 6-2. That's why I want Jonah Holmes back, because, Jonah Holmes and Ben Thomas would cover your whole back line.
He's moved to London Scottish, Not a good team.
I never said he was. I just said he'd be the ideal player because he's a wing fullback scrum half. And you've got Ben Thomas covering centre and 10, and you don't have to use Ben Thomas as a fullback option, which I think is his weakest of the three.
Yeah.
Or it's the one where I think he has the least effect on a game.
Yeah. I think you've got to bring Jack Morgan in as well for Harry Leaves. I'm sorry. If you do that, then it starts to pass the sniff test a bit better. I think Rhys Henry becomes the one that stands out a lot. But you know what? Like I said, all the stats tell me that he's in there on merit.
I mean, for me, I feel like 7 would be a lot easier if Thomas Young was fit, because I feel like he would pass the sniff test a bit more. He's done. He's never had a good opportunity for Wales. He's always played in that Italy game or that fourth autumn international. But he's very quick. He's very good over the ball, and he's incredibly good with the ball, and he's got a lot of pace, which I think would have helped. But he's injured, so he's out.
Okay.
Morgan just would be our 7, I think.
Yeah, I think is pretty clear. So, all right then. So there's the team. So the Rap Podcast official stats plus sniff test team to take on South Africa to beat the world champions, to beat a team that's basically just going to be the Sharks. Let's face it. Is Nicky Smith, Dewi Lake, Rhys Henry. So good they named him twice. Morgan Jones, Ben Carter, James Ratty, Jack Morgan, Aaron Wainwright, Gareth Cowdell Davis, Owen Williams, Keith from Neath, Mason Grady, Keelan Giles, Rio Dyer can win it.
Yeah, I think that's quite an interesting team. I'd be very surprised if it's the exact team.
It absolutely will not be.
Yeah, I could see. For example, I could see Morgan Jones not being involved, but James Ratty being there. And maybe a Plumtree coming in at 6.
I can see Plumtree coming at 6.
I think Elliot D's injured as well, so I think he might not be. He wouldn't be available. So because otherwise, I'd say he'd come in.
Mm-hmm.
And Gatland clearly likes what he sees with Domachowski, Gareth Thomas as well, who obviously hasn't played many minutes because he's had a bit of he's had some injury troubles in between his Wales duty. And yeah, you're probably looking like a Kieran Azarati, and I could imagine Dylan Lewis coming into the squad proper from the off. As much as he seems to fancy Harry O'Connor.
Maybe the reason Rhys Henry's getting picked, so isn't getting picked by Gatland, is because Gatland thinks he's 39, where he's actually only 22, or whatever it is.
Yeah, he's surprising. Yeah, it's quite surprising.
Anyway, mate, I think we need to leave it there because we're running out of time on the free trial of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's everything. I don't think either of us have the stop button, so hopefully Lee's listening in the background and is able to stop. But just all that's left to say is thank you, Catboy, for sitting with me and talking some stats. Special thank you to the listeners for listening to our stat rambling. When we put this pod out, I think we'll share the graphic as the team as well, just because it'd be interesting to see all the people going, what have you picked so-and-so?